Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Matt Chat. We're brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Really happy to be joined by Daton Fix, your world team trial champion, world team member at 61 kilograms for USA Wrestling, and wearing Nikes this last weekend. So Daton, welcome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Well, we've done clinics together and everything else. The least we could do is get you some FaceTime for some big time stuff. So I should start out with that. You're really good with kids, man. You know, like we did a clinic last summer in, I think it was Oklahoma City, like at a BJJ gym, which was kind of cool, a little different vibe, you know. But you're real good. You're real patient. I think your little brother was actually one of the guys there.
Yeah.
You know, and then like Hardell's son was there and Jasper Lockett's son was there, but then just a bunch of regular kids. So when you think about, I'm sure you started wrestling at a young age. Does that kind of help you connect with kids like that, maybe a little more than somebody else?
Yeah. I mean, I know that was me once upon a time. You know, that I was the kid that was sitting there looking up to somebody and they're trying to help me. So, you know, I take that all into pretty good perspective. And, you know, having a younger brother and younger siblings, that also helps. You know, I've always, you know, I'm really close to my younger siblings, and I think that kind of helps me relate to younger kids as well.
Well, you got a close family, period, right? Like my dad was a college coach. I coached next to him. I wrestled for him. Your dad's the Cowboy Wrestling Club or RTC. I don't know which official title is, but the head coach there. Tell me about that. Cause I always, you know, like I loved wrestling for my dad, but also like you can't, and I'm sure you don't live at home, but like when I was living at home, it's like you can't eat a bucket of ice cream and not have to be able to explain it in the morning. So
I mean, I've always loved wrestling for my dad. He's been in my corner since the beginning. So, you know, he does a really good job of, you know, being a coach and then putting that aside whenever it's time to be a dad. And it's, you know, something I'm really grateful for. And, you know, it was definitely fun having him back in my corner this weekend.
No, so you're not breaking down film after Thanksgiving dinner. You save that for Monday.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I told a couple guys we were having you on the show, and they had some good questions that I thought made sense. So first of all, how much different do you feel physically at 61 versus 57?
You know, obviously there's you can see I move a lot better. I have more energy. I have more of a pop than I did at 57. And you know, I think a lot of that comes from I took a little bit of time off after I wrestled in the college season and wrestled in the trials, and I just put a lot of work into my movement, and I think that was even probably played into why I looked like I had so much more energy. Is I really did put a lot more focus into moving my feet and just being more aggressive.
That's an interesting phrase, putting work into your movement. I mean, obviously John is famous for stance and position drills and things like that. And you don't get to where you are without having good movement, you know, at every stage. Did you do new drills? Did you focus on new things mentally? Or did you just go back and sort of resharpen the saw and do what you've always done and just really concentrate on doing it better?
Yeah, it was really just concentrating on what I was doing. I got away from my movement there for a while, about a year. When I was younger, I was moving a lot more than I was this past year. I was jab faking a lot more, level changing, and then I just, you know, this past couple months, I realized that I needed to get back to that, and because whenever I'm doing that and I'm moving and I'm creating action, that's whenever I tend to score. You know, I'm definitely the type of wrestler that the more action there is, the better off I am. The more action, the better for me, for sure.
We used to tell our guys that like wrestling's almost like playing golf. Like if I had to wrestle you, I want to just be in one scramble, right? Like if it's golf, I just want to play Tiger Woods on one hole on my home course where the pit, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
probably win either way, but I have a much better chance of winning than if I play 18 holes with him, right? Like there's no way I'm going to win that, right? And it's the same thing. I think if you feel like you're the better wrestler, when we started recruiting well, we're like, we want you in 5 to 7 flurries or scrambles because you're going to win the majority of them.
Yep,
When
absolutely.
a couple like the college matches you've had, you obviously have 2 great successful seasons. Obviously, both of them ended in overtime and not the way you wanted, but those were both 1 takedown matches. And both those guys are really good wrestlers. No disrespect to either one of them. I know you would never say that, but I'm guessing you feel like if we get in 5 flurries, I'm going to win 3 of them. So my question is, because that's easy to say, right? Like, hey, Dayton, just go out and get in some flurries and be the better guy, right? First of all, you do a ton of work to be the better guy. And second of all, everybody's defense is so good now, it's hard to get into the flurry. So how do you, if you believe what you believe, and I know you do, how do you get into more flurries, into more action, as opposed to these one scramble kind of matches?
Yeah, because going to those type of matches, obviously my goal is to have a bunch of action, and sometimes the match just plays out the way it plays out. But I think the best way for me to create that action is from my motion, and that's kind of why I got back to doing that. Whenever I'm able to get the guy to react from space, it just opens up way more than whenever we're in the ties and we're just real stagnant. I don't need to be just hanging in ties. I feel comfortable doing it, but it's just the lack of action that it's not gonna help me win matches.
Yeah, and again, like a guy like me, like if you want to hang out in the ties for 6.5 minutes, that's perfect, because I can get lucky. Something good can happen. So to kind of just circle back, do you think the fact that you were at 61 and not cutting as much contributed to you being able to do more motion because you're at a higher energy level? You're a lot closer to your walk around weight right off the scale, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it definitely didn't it didn't affect me negatively at all. Being at 61, I felt good. I moved well, and I think it did play a part for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, most people know, but the NCAA finals were in March, the Olympic trials were in April, and then the World Team trials were this past weekend in September. We're recording this on the 15th. So, I'm impressed by how you bounce back. You know, um, I've known, I'm friends with Randy Couture. I know him and your dad are good friends. You wrestled in our charity event. We get to brag you were in our event, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I've known you for a long time. When it doesn't go your way and you invest everything into it and you live the right lifestyle, you're making all the right choices and you don't win. How do you mentally sort of reset, put that behind you, not let that permeate everything going forward? And how did you do that twice where you wrestled really well at trials, just came off 1 point short of being in the finals? And then the same thing for obviously wrestling a hell of a tournament, which we're going to get into some of the specifics because I have some questions this last weekend.
Yeah, it's not easy. Whenever you dream of doing something and you fall short of that, even though you did everything right. I looking back on it, I couldn't have done much, leading up to NCAAs and the trials. There wasn't much else I could do different. I was doing everything right, and to do that and to fall short, it's not easy at all. But I think that's kind of when you have to start to lean on your faith, your faith in God, and just I just really trust in His plan for me, and that's something that's really helped me, just kind of get back to the room, and it you just kind of realize that life's gonna move on, and if I let my past matches dictate how I wrestle my future matches, then sometimes that's not gonna benefit me, but you know I like the where I'm at now. I'm in a good spot right now, so I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
faith is, I've talked to a lot of guys like Frank Molinaro's talked a lot about faith and about gratitude and those kind of things. And I think the idea of somebody having a bigger plan for you, there's a higher being, that kind of thing can obviously give you perspective. Sometimes we all get so stuck in where we are, it gets super myopic. Um, Obviously you have a great relationship with your dad, but you've also got a guy like John that's freaking won everything you want to win. It's probably one of the main reasons you went there. Do you have talks with him like after the NCAAs, after the Olympic trials? Do you guys just talk and like sort of get you in the right frame of mind to go forward? Because I think like mindset's got to be so important. Like at this weight class this last weekend, I mean, I think I don't even know what you were seated, 4 or 5, but it feels like any of those guys could have won that tournament on a given day, right? Like Soriano's legit, Graf's legit, Gross, in spite of what you did to him, is legit. Cologne is a world medalist. Nashon's a world team member. Like, so to go back, like, do you and John talk about these kind of things at all?
Yeah, we've had conversations about, after NCAAs and Olympic trials, we talked about, that I'm right there, and that I'm way better than what I performed in both those events. I just, it was just, I didn't wrestle like myself in either of those really events and the matches that I lost. And, finally these past couple of months, I just started feeling more like myself in practice. And, after this weekend, Coach Smith, he just, he called me and he said that I need to bottle that up and keep that, what I was doing, because it obviously worked.
Yeah, I think all of us at some point in our life have wrestled tight in a situation, and some of us have just completely cut it loose. It's obviously easy to cut it loose when you think or for sure you're better. And when you coach guys, you're like, look, it doesn't matter, because like even if you lose the first takedown, you're going to be okay, right? Like, you wrestle some guy that's okay, but not on your level. But these other guys that are so stingy, you can get sucked into these slow matches. So let's talk a little bit about the tournament. All right. So first of all, we're on USA Wrestling. USA Wrestling does the seeding. So I know there's a criteria, but your weight could have gotten seeded a lot of different ways. Let's just say that, you don't have a lot of criteria at 61, because most of your success has come at 57. So I think that obviously led to you being, do you remember if you were the 4 or the 5? I don't even remember.
I was the 4
Okay,
seed. Yeah.
Gross was the 5.
Yep.
So you and Gross, completely different body types, completely different styles of wrestling, both guys that tend to put up a lot of points. I certainly don't want to break down your technique for anybody else to pick it up, but there was one particular move that you were doing several times with a lot of success. Was that a new move that you worked on for the tournament? Was it for him, or did you just pick it up like with your wrestling IQ? Hey, this move is there.
Yeah, it's just something that I just kind of felt. Obviously I was aware that he has a really good 2-on-1, so I was aware of it just going into the match, and it was something I felt really right off,
Yeah,
pretty much right off the whistle. And yeah, I've worked. I haven't really done that specific technique very often, but it was just something that I felt, and it led to a couple scores. So I'm grateful for that.
well, not only led to a couple scores, but I mean, it led to it creates desperation, because you're using that hold and taking him right to the edge. And as you well know, once, like if I get you to the edge, I don't have to be that good to score. You got to figure out a way to get grounded or really wrestle even better than if it's in the middle of the mat.
Yeah.
I know you expect to win every match. Were you surprised at all at the differential in score and how easily you won?
Whenever I get out to a lead like that, right off the bat, it makes it really difficult for guys to wrestle me, because now they have to come after me, and they have to really open up, and that's just gonna, create more action for me. And so whenever I can go out there and get a lead like that early, it really benefits me.
Yeah, so you win that match. Now you're in the semis. You got Graf, and that was one of those one score kind of match situations. Now, he was the number 1 seed, and I think from having made some calls is because he was the world team member in 2019 at that weight, and made it to the bronze medal match. I actually was lucky enough to do the play-by-play for those in the middle of the night. So you get, you're obviously rooting for USA, no matter who's on the team, and he's a really good wrestler, really strong. How'd you feel in that match?
I felt great. I felt great the whole tournament, but it was just kind of one of those weird matches where you get into a point in the match where you want to open up, you want to score more points, but you don't want to, you don't want to put yourself in too much of a risk to lose the match late. And, I can remember I scored pretty early on in the second period and I actually got a push out when, if I would have been able to get the takedown, get his knee to hit, then it would have gave me that 3-point lead, which would have gave me a little bit more
gigantic
to look for more attacks. But then, we get into a couple more flurries. There's about a minute left in the match. And then now you're in that kind of awkward point in the match where there's a minute left. You have a 2-point lead and, the guy's going to be coming after you. So that's just whenever I think I started moving my feet a lot more and just made sure I was getting my head in position and down blocking really well at the end of that match.
Yeah, you obviously won it comfortably in the sense that he never got you into your legs, put you in a bunch of scrambles, but it's uncomfortable, and that one mistake cost you the match. And we talk a lot when we're doing play-by-play about the difference between, especially in freestyle, between you being up on me 2-0 with 2 1s, but even 2, because if I score last, I win, but versus 3-0, even if it's 3 1s, because you can give up a deuce and you still got a cushion. You can make one mistake. When you wrestle a Gross, a Graf, and then the next day you got NATO, but are you game planning for these guys? Are they game planning for you, do you think? Or is it more like you said, I'm aware he's got a 2-on-1, I'm aware he's got a slide by, like Graf, he's really good on top, try to stay out off the bottom if at all possible, those or is it more just concentrating on, I'm going to do what I do and make this guy wrestle me?
You're aware of certain tendencies, but I'm more focused on what I'm going to do. And I think that helps me be able to open up and get to my attacks whenever I'm more worried about what I'm doing than what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's a good mindset, right? Because you can overcoach a guy. If I talk to you too much about what this other guy's going to do, it almost sounds like I'm worried about it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think probably somewhere along the way, I probably did that and shouldn't have done that. So that's how you learn though, right? So you get in the finals, and it's interesting because Tomasello is down at the Oklahoma RTC. So, more or less like another coach down there, at OU. He obviously wrestled a great tournament to get there. He had some studs on his side of the bracket as well. Besides the Gross match, it seemed like you were really in control there. It just seems like what he does and you do, you're just a little bit better at that stuff. Is that how you felt in those matches?
Yeah, he's a really tough competitor. And I feel like as the tournament went on, I started to feel even more confident in what I was doing. I was moving my feet. By the time the finals came around, my motion was even better than it was in those early rounds. And I think that I was just building confidence as the tournament went on. And I think that's, obviously it's a good sign whenever that happens, whenever you're getting better as the tournaments,
You have to, because the guys conceptually get better.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't know about this tournament because it was like hammer, and then double hammer. But normally, you got to keep wrestling those guys. You do have one tell, Daton, like a poker tell. When you start bouncing in between, like when you're like, I'm like, he's feeling it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was definitely in the second match for sure. I started feeling it at the end. I was feeling really good, and I really didn't even want the match to end. I was having a lot of fun out there, and it's always good whenever you're having fun, and that's something that I haven't felt in a while, was having that much fun wrestling. So it was just a good time for sure for me.
That's what we talked about briefly off the air before we came on was, when you get older, like somebody like myself, like one of the things you try to tell younger guys is really enjoy those moments, because you guys put so much work into it. There are times when somebody else is really good, beat you by a point or two, And if you don't take those times to enjoy it, like when we first all started wrestling, it was just because it was fun. Like when you start at 6 or 7 or 8, it's not to win a medal. I don't think it's because it's fun or your dad drug you to practice or whatever, but you don't stay if it's not fun, if you don't enjoy it. So, okay. So now this is an interesting cycle, right? Because of COVID and the Olympics and everything else getting pushed back. Now Oslo is like in 2.5, 3 weeks, basically, right?
Yep.
So you're obviously also at college, going to school, and you're going to do some, I'm assuming, different training. So I want to ask you something. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you this on the air. What is your relationship like with Zoe? I had a chance to hang out with him. That dude is freaking hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
Fashion icon, by the way,
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, shoes and shirts are always on point. Hair is always
Yeah.
on point. How did he end up at Oklahoma State? And he seems like he's your main training partner. So, like, what's that relationship like?
We have a great relationship. So me and Zoe, we actually met in 2017. Whenever he was still competing, he came to Stillwater to do some training, and that was my freshman year here, and it was probably a couple months before the Junior World Championships. So
Okay.
we got to train then, and we he ended up going on leaving, and then probably about 2 years later, he just I think he texted either Coach Smith or somebody that he wanted to come back and uh, be a coach. He wanted to get into coaching, and so he came back, and our relationships it's been great pretty much the whole time. He gives me a good feel in the room, and I'm really grateful that I have someone like him that's I can call him whenever I need to, and he'll be there for me.
I think there's a different advantage too, right? Like, like to look at two guys you've wrestled, like RBY has Gilman to train with, but Gilman's still competing, obviously. Where Zoe, like if you, instead of like, hey, you're going to hit moves for a minute, I'm going to hit moves for a minute. If you need to hit them for 2 minutes, I feel like that's one of the reasons he's there, right? Is,
Oh
like
yeah.
if you need to
Yep.
get extra goes in, that's one of his functions. If you need to feel the defense or just take a blow while he's, hitting his stuff and you're watching and learning from that, but it's almost like he's there for you. I haven't seen him wrestle a lot. I know he was really good. Like I looked it up, but is he wrestle a lot that European style where he's sort of real flowy and loose like that?
Yeah, he's really good defense. You get to his leg, it's tough to score. He's good in upper body situations, and just all that. It helps me. He's got that kind of a foreigner feel, and that's it's definitely beneficial for me for whenever I go overseas.
Yeah, which is coming up, obviously.
Yeah.
So when you were at the younger ages, I think I was texting with your dad about setting this up, and he said this is your 8th world team. Is that correct?
Um. I think so. So I made two cadet world teams, 3 junior world teams, a U-23 team, and now 2 senior world teams. So
Eesh. Yeah. Um, when at some of those stages, you were winning medals, gold medals, all different medals. One of the things that was working so well for you was that trap arm gut, the obviously you know what I'm talking about with that bent leg. And then when you get to this senior level, they scout everybody so well. It's also harder because everybody's stronger, everybody's a little bit longer, probably, which makes that probably a little more difficult. So when that stopped being the almost automatic tech fall kind of thing for you, does that force you to just go, okay, I'm going to have to get even better on my feet. I'm going to have to get a better regular gut wrench. I'm going to have to get better with my lace. Like, what's the mindset? Sort of like, hey, my fastball is not going to always strike everybody out kind of thing.
Yeah, I had to develop a regular gut wrench, and even back then my regular gut wrench was really good, but just if I could get that trap arm, then why not? And
Well, sure, end the match, right?
in the match, yeah, exactly. But it's something that I had to work on for sure, and I have a real good system going for me right now, and obviously you want to anytime you can get on top and you can get turns, it really opens up matches.
Well, you've obviously been on all these world teams, so you're friends with all the guys at that level at different weight classes. Like somebody was asking me what I thought about Burroughs, and Burroughs himself put some tweet or something out there saying like some people are saying he's tarnishing his legacy, which frankly, most of these people could work for a year and never work as hard as guys like you and JB work in a week. So they should probably keep their opinions to themselves, which is a whole separate conversation. But the second part of it is I kind of liken Burroughs to a guy that used to be able to throw 100 all the time and just blow you away. And now maybe he can hit 100 once in a while, but he's developed like a curveball and a changeup and a slider. And it feels like that's what you've done. Like, okay, I had this trap arm series. I was really good at almost letting guys get on my legs and winning that waterfall position and coming on top. It wasn't that you couldn't do a bunch of other things. You didn't have to do a lot of other things because you were winning with these strategies. And now we're almost seeing a more fully optimized Daton Fix because the fastball doesn't work all the time. Is that how you kind of see your evolution?
Yeah, a little bit. I've always been able to do everything that I did this weekend. It's been in my toolbox, but it was just, a matter of, letting loose and doing it. And that just comes from my training. I really put in a lot of time, and I focused on being more aggressive in practice, moving my feet more in practice, and it it correlated to success, and I'm just gonna stick with that.
Yeah, I think almost that conscious part, like you said, like I'm gonna be aggressive, like I'm gonna score points, like that obviously benefited you. And like you said, you go maybe for a year, to quote you, like you weren't as offensive as you were this weekend. And sometimes that's like a slow, you just kind of get sucked into that and you don't even realize your output's not the same. But I'm guessing like you're going to go back and watch this film versus other film and be like, my Lord, I'm getting after it. And this is where I got to keep getting after it. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears. Tell me about your impression of NIL, this name, image, likeness. For people that don't know, you guys can now legally get paid. A real life example of that was the clinic we did a year ago, where we had to list you a certain way, compensate you a certain way, make sure we're coloring inside the lines, not even up close to the lines. But now it could just be like, anybody could just pay you whatever they wanted within reason, right? Like how, you're obviously a big name and you're an Oklahoma kid, and that's got to help down there too, where your family has relationships for years. What are your thoughts on NIL?
I mean, it's awesome for all college athletes, that we can, finally benefit off our name, image, and likeliness. It's it can only benefit us. It's anytime you can make some more money, it's nice. But for me, if you're not winning, then you're not going to be making any money. So, the wrestling part of it's way more important to me than making money. I think that whenever you start to focus too much on making money, then it can make it can be a negative. If you're too worried about making money, then you're winning matches, then that's not good. So you gotta put it in perspective that wrestling's still gonna it's gonna be the main priority in winning matches. That's how you're gonna be able to make some money.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think a lot of people are chasing this stuff down. I think what Gable Stevenson has done is absolutely brilliant. And I think it's so good for wrestling. Like, even though you're a wrestling athlete, I'm sure you're a wrestling fan, like you love wrestling, you want to see wrestling benefits. So I think that's really smart. Speaking of being a wrestling fan, I don't know I don't know if this was difficult. Did you watch the Olympics?
Yeah, I stayed up. I watched pretty much all the matches at the Olympics.
All right. So first, let's talk about the commentator. I've got my John Smith impression down pretty good now. My mom said I can't do it. It's disrespectful. They're good friends. They stay at their house, so I can't do it, but it's pretty good now. Obviously, he's just a guy that's in your life, but is it interesting listening to him in that different role? Obviously you didn't hear him in the trials, but at the Olympics, is it interesting? Does it make you smile and laugh, or?
Yeah, it's fun to see. It's fun to listen to him because I mean, it's awesome because that's what he says the same stuff in the room all the time. He's really he's just coaching the guys that are out there, and you kind of get an inside look on what it's like to be an athlete of his. You know, he knows what he's talking about. He can almost kind of predict what's going to happen at times, and that's it's awesome to see, and it's awesome to see it play out in matches.
Yeah, that part's super cool. I also love the part where he tells the referees to put their whistle in their pockets, and some of
Oh
these
yeah,
guys need to leave their shoes or wristbands on the mat.
yeah. He definitely he says it how it is, and that's something that that I love about him. He's not gonna sugarcoat anything, and as an athlete, that's what you need sometimes.
Yeah. Well, like Hardell and I, we do the Big 12s, that you guys are in. And obviously he's an Oklahoma State alum, but he plays it right down the middle, which we need him to do. It was interesting when I got to do the world championships. They're like, look, you need to be right down the middle, except when an American is wrestling, and then you root for the Americans, which was great because it'd been really hard not to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, um, I guess let me just ask you, like, obviously you watched most of the wrestling, all the wrestling. I know this is your goal. I know your goal is to be there in 24. Watching 57 kilos, watching Ugiev and Gilman and those guys. I mean, I'm sure in a way, like, you're still happy for Gilman because he brought home a medal for the United States and everything else. What were your thoughts on wrestling that? Is it bittersweet watching it? Or are you just being a student of the game and picking up what you can? Are you trying to soak the moment up as much as possible, planning on being there 3 years later? Like, what's your approach to that?
Obviously, watching that's my dream. My dream is to be an Olympic gold medalist. So, wasn't easy to watch, especially my weight. Watching other weights, it's a little bit different. But whenever it's your
Yeah.
weight and you compete against those guys, it's hard. But obviously, I was happy for Thomas to the way he wrestled. He wrestled like, in my opinion, he looked like he was the best guy in the world. And just outside of short time in that first match, he was the best guy in the world. And for me, all I did was solidify that I'm right there with I'm right there with everybody, and it's honestly, it probably helped me. It helped me, leading up to this. I saw that I'm right there with the best guys in the world, and I just kind of used it as motivation, and it gave me more confidence.
You just made me $20. I bet somebody that's what you would say.
There you go.
So next time I see you, you get 10. So, no, but I just this one guy's like, well, I bet he couldn't watch and it was probably depressing. And I go, if I'm that guy, and this is a guy with Gilman, I beat him, I've lost to him, we're real close. I mean, however you want, I know you think you're better, he thinks he's better, but you're real close, right? Like, if you wrestle 10 times, neither one of you realistically is going to beat the other guy 10 in a row. I know you believe that, but I mean, us as fans.
Yeah.
And this guy, like you said, is 10 seconds away from probably being the gold medalist. He lost to the best guy, he lost to the guy that won the weight and looked really dominant coming through. I would think that it's like that's the right way to look at it mentally. Like you said, I'm right there. Like, I just need to improve these things and I can be right there where he was, as opposed to, like, if he goes out and gets smoked, by some guy that then gets tech fault, you're like, good Lord, I got a ways to go here. Right. Like,
Yeah.
I know the A beat B, B beat C thing doesn't always apply, but this thing's a lot easier mentally to approach. So, okay. So Oslo is, like we said, it's in early October. I haven't looked at the schedule yet of which days you wrestle. I'm sure you have, but do you spend a lot of time scouting guys on this, or just because since the draw is so late, or I'm guessing you're not doing anything new. You're just tweaking, right? Like, just fine tuning, keeping your diet right, all those other kind of things, right?
Yeah. So I wrestled I'm the first day of competition. I wrestle on October 2nd. So, that's actually going to be the first time I've been the first day. So it's
Oh, really?
yeah. So I think that's gonna be fun to get there and not have to really wait around to wrestle.
Yeah.
So,
Get it out of the way and then be a fan. Yeah.
yeah, then I get to kind of hang out for a couple days. But yeah, leading up to it, it's I'm glad that it's a quick turnaround because I'm I'm feeling good. I just came off wrestling really well last weekend. So I'm just kind of gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And I took I took yesterday or 2 days ago. I took that day off. I came in yesterday, got a run in, and then I'm gonna be back in the room today drilling. So it's just gonna get right back into training, and just I'm excited. I'm really excited to go over to Oslo and represent the United States.
Yeah, it seems like America's kind of caught up to like what Russia and some of the other countries realize where overtraining is a real thing. I don't remember Couture was saying like he was over on a trip one time and they're banging each other out in Greco matches, and the Russians are over there playing soccer and stuff, and then it didn't go so well for the Americans. So it seems like you guys are being coached in your own, and you as an athlete, your body's better, and you're like, okay, this is what I need. Tell me a little bit about the Oklahoma State team this year, because you got a lot of guys coming back. I mean, basically, I think everybody came back, right? Like Gear and the other guys that could have left, everyone opted back in.
Yep,
Obviously.
everybody outside of Boo Llewellyn.
Oh yeah, Boo. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
left, but which was unfortunate. But we do have Caden Gefeller, who he was the backup for Boo last year, and he's someone that's right there with
Yeah,
everybody.
he's
in
a
the
high
country.
stealing
He's
guy for
gonna
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna
Put
slot in
together
there
a
pretty
season.
nice.
Yeah. Well, and Voinovich is another guy you recruited around there too, right? But I mean,
Yep.
you guys have, I don't want to skip all the All-Americans. And I remember, obviously I know Boo, he was, in our event as well, and great kid and great career. But you've got what, 5 or 6 All-Americans coming back?
Um. Yeah, probably around there.
Yeah.
Probably 5 All-Americans. Yeah.
Yeah. So and the Big 12s will be in Tulsa again, which is really like well, especially yours. That's your backyard, right? Sand Springs is like a suburb of Tulsa, right?
Yeah, the first city west of Tulsa is Sand Springs, so it's basically my backyard, and it's
Yeah.
always fun going and competing at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. I go to Sand Springs on the way home to St. Louis. So, and then Missouri comes in this year. So, I mean, it'll probably make the tournament even more competitive, I would guess, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got to be excited just to have a full season, right? Like not wondering if you're going to wrestle from week to week because of pandemic and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be completely different than last year for sure. I'm excited to wrestle basically every weekend again. That's something I haven't got to do in a long time. And I was growing up, I was the type of kid that I was wrestling every chance I got, and that's I think it's only going to benefit me being that active and competing. I'm just going to kind of get back into the groove of things and get into the flow of competing, and I'm just excited for it to start happening.
Yeah, somebody told me one time when you're a little kid, you could probably get in 300 matches a year. And by the time you're at the senior level, like out of college, you're lucky if you can get 30 matches in a year.
Yeah.
And, it's probably good too. Your body gets older, those kind of things. But like you said, you get your body in a rhythm. The more you compete, the more you learn where you need to get better, because competition is different than practice, obviously. So I just saw this stuff on, I don't know, it was Twitter or Instagram because I'm old, but I saw it somewhere. The new facilities that you guys got going on. So I know you've seen the renderings. I've been there plenty of time. The facility's not bad, but it's certainly, I would say, dated is probably a fair way to say it, right?
Yeah.
So how soon is this happening? How exciting is this?
I mean, it's really it's awesome that we're getting that big of an upgrade to our locker room. It's definitely something that's going to benefit us as a team. We're all really excited about it. I think it's supposed to start happening here pretty soon. So hopefully, whenever I get back from the World Championships, I'll have a brand new locker room, and it's the designs for it. It looks unreal. We have a full kitchen, we have full table, and nice lounge TVs. I think they might even put a place where we can sleep in there, some beds and stuff. So it's gonna be something that's a real big upgrade from where we're at now, and I'm excited for it.
Well, Gallagher Iba is like sort of an iconic. It's one of the few, I think, iconic venues for wrestling. I mean, I know these guys are not on your list, but Carver Hawkeye is one of those places, but there's a few stadiums or arenas you can name tied to wrestling, and people are like, that's a rough trip, and I think those two are right at the top of the list. Obviously, going to a Penn State's difficult too, but Gallagher Iba's been so good. You guys have been so good for so long, and there's been so many unbelievable dual meets that have happened there. Just historic, crazy matches. Like I guess the year you were redshirting, maybe when Pitch pinned Spencer, right out of the blocks.
Yeah, I wrestled in that duel.
Oh, you were 33. Yeah, you were.
I was
That's right.
33
Because
that year.
that's when you put DeSanto in that.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, the roof just blows off those places.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be exciting. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about? Besides the training and just before heading into the season.
There's nothing that I can think of right now. Just I'm thankful for everybody that supports me and everybody that's believed in me up to this point. I'm just really grateful for them, and I'm gonna do my best to go make them proud at the World Championships and bring home a gold medal.
Well, you seem like you're at peace, and that doesn't mean like you're satisfied, which I think is a big difference. But I don't know you real well, but I know you well enough to call you, and I'm happy for you that you're at peace. I know you're not like, okay, I qualified, we'll just hope it goes well. I know that's the last thing your mind works that way. I know you've got the mindset of a champion, but it seems like maybe you're enjoying the ride a little bit more. And I'm happy for you because one day this will all be over, whenever it's over. And I think you'll appreciate, just like you said, these people that supported you. Anybody that supports you, knows you, Daton, you don't need to do anything to make them proud. They support you because of who you are as a person and the fact that you're a good wrestler, and get to showcase what a good person you are in winning or losing, how you carry yourself and signing autographs and everything else. I can tell you this is, like I said, as an old guy, the people that respect you, yeah, you're good at wrestling. You're very good at wrestling, but that's not why people respect you. And the people that only respect you for that reason don't deserve it any of your time of the day. So you've always been good to, your dad has always been good to me and my family. Same with you and John and everybody down there. Sincerely, I just wish you the best of luck in a couple weeks and during the season. And I know at the latest, I'll see you in April at the Big 12.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all those kind words.
They're well-deserved, man. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Daton Fix. I'm David Mirikitani. We'll speak to y'all next week.